into a problem for Elevate very, very quickly.
Well, you're talking about the entry kills. Just to give you the stat line, it was 9-2 on entries for SSG in the last map. They dominated the early round. Now, obviously couldn't convert all of those into a win. It's far from a foretelling of exactly how a round is going to end, but it already puts you at a 4 versus 5 advantage. Let's see how things change, though, going in. Already, Tim, it feels like we're back onto old school Clubhouse with 2 hard breach bans coming in.
Yeah, Maverick and Hibana will go by the wayside. Bandit's going to join as well. An interesting choice on Bandit.
I mean, Thatcher's available, so...
Well, yeah, exactly that. And, you know, electricity going, you'd usually expect it more to be Kaid, maybe. Yeah. But it's going to be Solis that's our final defender. Yeah, that Bandit pick, you know, maybe there was a bit of value elsewhere.
I understand it, because with Thatcher, it's harder to deal with the Bandit than it is to deal with the Kaid, because the Kaid obviously has a whole load time. Yeah. You can chuck down an EMP at a wall to disable the one that's currently there. You get the hard breach on the wall. You roll another one whilst it's going off to guarantee any that have been deployed during that time are then disabled as well. A wall is guaranteed to be open. So really for SSG, there is no excuse why you're not going to see a bit of combo play between Bosco and Yeti. Every wall that needs to be open should be open. Where they will struggle a little bit, though, I think might come down to some of these hatches. They've obviously got 3 potential hard breach hatch potentials here. They've got the 2 exothermics, they've got the 3 Selmas coming out of the ace, but you do have to use 2 to open up a wall. They've then potentially got some in back pocket as well coming in from the Buck, who now has those 2 hard breach gadgets. So they're far from short on options, but Tim, I can't help but look on the right-hand side of my screen and see that exact same comp that we spoke about, the sort of thing that SSG have been named for. It is the 3-floor SSG hold.
Just short of the castle. That's the only operator additionally that we may see. The reason that you would bring a castle potentially is to create safe avenues back to site. Thank you very much. You would indeed castle those double doors, and it just gives you that sort of safe funnel back down into site. But they've chosen not to go with that, and that's absolutely fine. That's no problem.
It's the reinforcing bar that's the interesting one for me, because normally during the hole when you have the castle, the bar hatch is left soft, so the defenders can drop down through the construction hatch and then drop straight back down into the bar one. 7 seconds, you can be back on site from being on the top floor. With it being reinforced up, you're now looking to protect things like main stairs, to be able to work your way through garage, for example. So SSG, knowing this kind of hold, knowing how to play against it, should feel very comfortable having an answer. They may even just ignore it entirely and just say, look, we're going to hit site, we're watching for the drops, because again, we know exactly how this setup works.
SSG already getting the CCTV wall open. DCH is playing inside of there, so they do need to be cautious, but I think he's just got a man on his other side as well. There's a little pressure potentially coming in from the other side. They've not got themselves established yet. It's actually Bosco's silhouette underneath that I could see. So DCH is just going to hold on to this breach for the time being, but SSG, they're not in an immediate rush to push this. I think they're just sort of more posturing and getting themselves set up ready. They've got Jacuzzi wall open as well now, but for the time being at least, Elevate are not in a rush to go anywhere.
My general view is if you have at least 60 seconds on the clock and you're then starting to swing your hammer or blow out the skeleton key onto the kitchen hallway floors and getting hatches opened up, generally you're going to be okay. Now, this is so cheeky, I love it. Normally you see that being brought out from something like the Yokai drones, but here being used by DCH to get that drone way out and feed information on what's going on around the podium itself.
I'm not sure how aware of Mr. Puncher's position they are here. Fultz is going to head up. The interesting question is, does he look to his right? No, Rampy's already got the angle covered, so they are aware that the Vigil was inside of Jim, so that is a big, big thing for SSG, because he can be a little bit slippery, of course, keeping himself off the drones there, but just getting a little bit of a stalemate here. DCH is on the support as well, but Fultz is going to become looking for Mr. Punch. They're likely to not know exactly where he is, but Fultz manages to react well and gets himself a big entry kill, and that is that entry boost that we've spoken about for SSG once again, and DCH is rattled as he looks like he's on his way out of there.
10-2 on entries now across this series so far. Real dominance in the early round from SSG, but again, Tim, I always like the context around those kind of stats, because here, sure, they've got the entry kill, but Elevate have burnt through 2 minutes on the clock. Sure, you know that they were upstairs, but they haven't pushed them really with any particular pace, and now they might find themselves in a bit of a panic to get this one closed out. They've got the kitchen control, so they are kind of ready to get this underway, but my God, is it going to be scrappy in the dying 10 seconds.
And you know that SSG are going to be playing to get that diffuser down, so they really need to think about getting down there soon, because you've always got to give yourself a second roll of the dice. Out comes the Nitro, unsuccessfully. Hotter manages to find Onagiri, but there's 2 kills, 3 kills come back for Elevate, and they fought their way back back into this round. Rampy has Diffuser in hand, but that's about all he's got going for him right now. It's 1 versus 3. There's not a chance of a plant, and he's not going to manage to get any of the kills that he needs, and that's going to be the first round to Elevate. And interestingly, Des, if you remember coming into this one, I picked out one site in particular that I was concerned about SSG on the attack, and it was Church and Arsenal, and it was about running out of time, and I think we've just seen there a last-second push that caused them a problem. Too much time spent clearing those roamers.
It's inexcusable. Again, when you're the ones that have designed this strategy as well, you should know how to play into it. But again,
rush dirt.
But yeah, right. But 2 minutes to clear the way through the top floor is just not good enough. You've got to be far quicker than that by some orders of magnitude as well. Really, you want to be in that top floor and sweeping your way across with about 60 seconds to go. Sometimes, oh, well, 6 seconds to go. 60 seconds into the round, sorry. And in some cases, you have to burn utility to do that. You've got to nade doorways, because the beautiful thing about mute gemmers on a map like this is there are a lot of small individual doorways. You can't see what's on the other side of that doorway when there's a mute gemmer blocking it. It's almost like an ADS. It draws in you having to throw a frag grenade in to get that cleared away so you can keep on rolling through. Things like Ash Charges, Sophia also help, but you're impeded further by things than like a Jaeger or a Wamai. Not that you normally see them on that site setup in particular. But either way, it just means that they were taking it a bit too slow. They weren't getting drones in the right spot, and you can see the outcome. Elevate move up already, 1-0. Great confidence from them. They held their nerve and didn't drop away. Now we go to Gym and Bedroom as the second site.
Elevate going to be looking to hold on to the whole top floor, as we would expect. We've got Mark and DCH just making their way back up to the top of red. We can see they've got the utility in place. They're going to have the Kiba barricades as well. So they're going to make it as difficult as possible for SSG to push into that side. Bosco's currently on his way towards that CCTV breach. We just get a flash of his silhouette there on the thermite. He's going to open that wall up. So Mr. Puncher's days inside a CCTV are likely limited. There you go. He's on his way out of there. But still, this is you know, pretty good from Elevate for the time being. They need to hold on to this for as long as they can.
The beauty with this, and you and I have cast, I think, this execute this defensive setup more times than I can count, but the main reason why you're seeing Elevate try and hold this side so hard is they want to play on that west window inside of CC room itself, as it gives you control of the south balcony, where the 2 windows that look in towards the site itself exist. If you can hold that side of the map, the attackers are screwed. They have to go in through the west jacuzzi breach alone, or try and work in through Logi. Basically, you really restrict their options. So SSG want to wrestle that part of the map away from them, but the beautiful thing about it is they haven't got to be inside. All they've got to do is open up the window and have someone playing on rappel, watching all the way through to where the west window sits. That should be enough, but you can see Elevate still trying to challenge here and push their way in. They've even managed to find Rampy.
Fantastic from them, really. DCH managing to get his man. Mark is still in position on red stairs. He's going to disappear now as the heat was really starting to mount, but by the time that Fultz moves in, he's long gone. And I like that from Elevate. If he gets himself down into the basement, he can come back up main stairs, get himself back into sight, which he's on his way doing, and that is great from Elevate. Waste almost a minute and a half of the round before they were able to really push in and establish themselves, SSG, but they now have construction, and they've also got a kill onto Mr. Punch. Yeti finding that one, so it brings us to a 4v4. SSG established they haven't opened Jacuzzi wall. It's going to come very late in the round again, and time could be another factor here.
I just love how you said it's great from Elevate. 2 together, it's absolutely brilliant, Tim. Thank you for making
another terrible rendition.
Absolutely. Either way, they've got the wall open up now on Jacuzzi with 45 seconds still to play. In a 4 versus 4, I think you take the Chaos as Elevate. You don't mind not facing off against a team that's got less men here to execute when it comes round to a 5v5 or a 4v4. The more attackers you take down, the less they've got to really push in and try and do some damage with. So Elevate for now sitting pretty and just waiting to see what happens next. It's Bosco being put down to a slither of HP.
Oh, what a beautiful shot from Bosco, just threading the needle and finding the headshot onto Mark, but it doesn't matter because Yeti's been taken down. That's Diffuser cold. Bosco is down but not out. Hotton manages to get one, but that's all he's going to get as the final kills come in from Elevate, and they get their second successful defensive round.
SSG just really lacking some bite right now, or bat, as you'd say. Really lacking some bite coming into these attacks. Those bite. But really lacking some bite coming into these attacks. It just looks a little, I don't know, a little limp when it comes round to the end. They get to the final 30 seconds and it's like, all right, you've got players in some good spots. You can see what the game plan is. But I think there's a little bit of discussion about this on Twitter, and I think also in Super's stream, talking about just needing 5 fraggers. Sometimes the strategy's going to fall apart, or everything's going to hit the proverbial fan. but you've also got to then have the gunners that can capitalize on a situation like that. And by no means am I saying that there are no gunners on SSG. There absolutely are, but they are losing some of these gunfights in these critical, messy moments at the very end of a round that sometimes means you have to win dirty. And right now, I don't think SSG can win dirty.
No, and I think that's, that's been part of the problem. Like we said, coming into this, if Elevate can frustrate them towards the end of the round, that's when we see SSG at their sort of most beatable, if you will. If SSG are winning rounds, they tend to be winning them in the first half of the round, essentially, and I don't necessarily mean that quite so literally that the round is over by a minute 30, but the rounds that they win, they tend to put themselves in a position within that first half of the round whereby it becomes very difficult for the defenders to win them. But a good start from Elevate as well. I certainly don't want to put this necessarily just onto SSG's performance in the late round and things like that. Elevate are doing a very good job of leaning into that. They're frustrating them through the rounds. They're not giving them anything. They're, by contrast, as you mentioned, those gunfights that are getting won, Elevate are winning them, and that's the fact at the minute, and they're looking good.
They are. That's always a promising sign as well when you're starting off strong on your opponent's map pick. But it's this offsite that I'm always really curious to see how it plays out. We said the same in Oregon, it was a good 2-0 start. The offsites proved to be both teams undoing realistically. SSG not able to hold Elevate at bay on either of those. It could very well be the reverse here with Elevate struggling to keep SSG away. But now at least SSG starting out very, very...
No!
Just why? But why? Why?
Because Onigiri just runs up to the breach, gets himself one, but it doesn't really work out as SSG managed to find 2 in return. It leaves us in a 4 versus 3. They are, of course, attacking here SSG onto bar and stage, so looking to get that top floor control. Now then, do they know that Sap is there? He's holding his position. He gets one, surely not another. No! Hot and Cold manages to move across on the sledge and take his man down, and that leaves us now 3 versus 2. But Elevate, you've just got a feeling, Des, that maybe they can hold on, but there's a lot of time to go. And if you remember, I did say SSG, the rounds they win tend to be won in the first half.
They do. The opening of that breach was just that's a classic APAT thing. You expect that from a team like Cyclops.
Onigiri things, it's not a problem.
You expect to see it from Cyclops, right? I always go back to when they absolutely bullied Team 1 back at the Mexico Major, that Team 1 would go on to win with constant jump outs and runs at the doorway on Oregon. But here, that's a little bit of a different thing. Running into the face of an explosion and still managing to net a kill is a big achievement. The thing is, Elevate are down on men. What makes me nervous is it's SSG the ones trying to take advantage of that. As we've seen repeatedly, they struggle to get the closeout in the dying moments of the round. Here we've got about 50 seconds to play with in a 3 versus 2. You would favour SSG to take this on a normal day, but given how the day has gone so far, I'm not 100% confident.
Knowing that somebody's in CCTV has told SSG everything they need to know. There is maximum 1 on site, and Hotton's going to take the opportunity to drop himself in, yet he manages to find the kill upstairs, and that leaves it all down to Mark. And they know where he is. They've already launched nades. There's Candelas going in. It's a matter of time. There's the kill. Rampy closes it out, and SSG won that round in the first half. The damage was done, and then they had the time that they needed before pushing into sight, and that is how they need to be playing this at the minute, because the rounds that are left of the last 20 don't really work out for them, but much better from SSG.
If Onigiri got a 2K there, that's the round. Not quite fully done, but definitely on its way to being finished for SSG right off the rip. Fortunately, they managed to get that trade coming in straight away, because I really don't think they were expecting to see him there. We certainly weren't, but he made himself heard and made himself known. Back down to the basement we go, and a slight change to the lineup from last time, Tim. You've got that Vigil, Mute, and Mozzie back in play. The Oryx has been taken away, and we also have a Capcan joining the roster.
Well then, what are SSG going to do differently here? And the answer is, or what do they need to do differently here? They have to take the top floor quicker. I would like to see, if I want to give you a measure of that at home, so you can, sort of watch for it yourself, what is happening here, what's going to offer SSG some sort of success. I would like to see SSG with top and mid floor control at around the 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 15 mark, giving themselves plenty of time to start opening those hatches to push down, to get their angles. I would like to see that. I wouldn't like them to still be fighting on the top floor with a minute to go, for example.
All right, let's see how he goes. We get into the second quarter of the game then, and how it progresses from here on out. SSG, again, as we said so many times, have started out so well, but just struggled with that end result. See if Elevate can get a little more disruptive on the early, or if it takes SSG once again 2 minutes to clear their way through this top floor. Not as many reinforcements being given on the upstairs as well. We just saw the CC wall being left completely soft, whereas normally it would be double reinforced off, drawing in a hard breach charge coming out from Bosco, for example. One thing to note though as well, Tim, is we have had a reduction here in the number of hard breach, I guess, pieces of utility coming in for the side of SSG. We had the Buck on side before with 2 hard breach charges in back pocket. Here, both of those have been taken away as we have got a Jackal on side instead. So we've got to be super careful. Onigiri has no idea how close he was to bringing down that Jackal.
I honestly thought that was going to be the done deal on Rampy there, but he manages to get away with it. Also picks up the track as it was and manages to just force Onigiri back down towards site, I think. But as I was saying, 1 minute 30, I want to see SSG in control of the top 2 floors, and they are in control of the top 2 floors. Fultz knows that there's somebody in there. SSG have much more time this time. This is a better attack than we saw out of them in round 1.
Yeah, managed to force everyone back down to site. That's exactly what you want to see, and now they can get to work on the hatches and the soft flooring, for example, with 90 seconds to go. And don't worry, even without a sledge or without a buck, for example, 1, we have the breaching rounds, 2, we do have the ITA available from Rampy if so required. So they can still do all the work they need to in this setup, but the most important thing for me, Tim, is it's still a 5 versus 5. Maybe you'd like a 5 versus 4 as SSG, but having all 5 players alive looking for this execute is the plan. With Onigiri now down as well, things only start to get better.
They've just got their 5 versus 4 that they might have wanted, and they've got an opportunity to start dropping some hatches. We see the utility going in there. There's still a man just behind the generator in blue. Fultz is aware of that, just going to hold his position. He might just get a freebie here if he's just holds his patience, but no, that's good from Elevate, not overextending, not over-peaking. They can't give anything else away. 45 seconds left to go. Hutton's starting to work from the bottom of main stairs, just trying to open up that triple wall into Church, but it's not going to happen because his Selma charges are going to be impact tricked off the wall. 35 seconds left to go, and this is the crunch time for SSG.
In that 5v4, you've really got to make this execute work here. You've got to capitalise on the advantage, the amount of time you've been given, and keep on going. Down goes DCH to Bosco. That's the good start that you want. 5v3, Tim, surely this one doesn't get lost.
It's got to be. 20 seconds to go from here. Elevate managed to... Oh, I thought he'd won that gunfight then, Mark, but no, he certainly backs Fultz off, let's put it that way. But in comes the kill from Rampy, and Sapper is going to be the one to finish Fultz off. 2 versus 4 right now. The diffuser going down, that's the key point for SSG here. They're able to keep that clock ticking, and that will be a success. And Bosco manages to find Mark. That was the real opportunity for them to be able to do anything about this. Elevate have largely been shut down, and it's surely a matter of time for Sapper.
Great idea from Mark as well there. He was in a real dangerous position to do some damage on the side swipe, but gets his booty caught out, shot down through the low hanging, opening the rotation that was in the wall, and brings Sapper down to just a 1 versus 3. But SSG, Tim, they've done what we wanted to see. They've got that plan down. They've capitalized on the man advantage and finally have pushed themselves to bring themselves even with Elevate finding 2 attacks. And sure, Sapper gets a couple of victory kills there for a little bit of KD padding, but this round is done. It's going to be 2-2.
Nothing more than for the stats, those ones, as the round is, as you say, leveled up on the scoreboard, and that is going to be SSG fighting their way back into this, as you would expect from them on Clubhouse. They've had a much better round 3 and 4 than the first 2, and the problem I think now for Elevate is maybe there's an element of sort of confidence and mentality starts to creep into it. You know, they started off so well, but SSG have certainly had the answers, and it probably comes back to that experience that I spoke about at the very beginning of the game. You know, they're not a team to panic. They're not a team to, you know, struggle in those situations. They can recognise what's going wrong. They can recognise that, you know, our attack onto Church and Arsenal last time was just way too slow. We can't leave it that late. This time they had a minute 40 to build onto site, and it was everything they needed.
Tim, say the line.
I haven't seen any yet.
I have. There are 2 on the field. Hello.
Laser gates.
Yay!
It's like...
That's all I was looking... Who was that? Was that one of the producers?
I love how far it's spreading.
Even the producers are joining in. Just, that was easy. It didn't sound like how easy he said it, so I was like, surely that's not easy.
Once upon a time, I bought a game called Rainbow Six Siege, and I played it on my console at home. And then 4 years later, I named one of the gadgets. And it seems to become endemic in the game.
It's
very strange.
It's the first time you said it, and I just pissed myself laughing for like 60 seconds.
Gotta say, it's very, very strange. When
For those who
signs about it at events, like, this is a game that I just bought and I played on my console, and now I come to events and people make signs about me saying laser games.
You're welcome.
It's brilliant. It's amazing. Never ceases to amaze me.
For those who maybe missed the context of where this all started, it was a Chalet game the first time that we saw Aruni, and Tim was really passionate about Aruni, and he basically goes, she's got these things called laser gates. It was really heavy, really put on, and I just set about wetting myself for 60 seconds straight. And then when he kind of like finished talking, he was like, Des, you're putting me off, what are you laughing at? And I was like, it's the way you've said it. And he's like, what have I said now? Had him repeat it, and he figured out for himself exactly what was wrong with it. And to that day, it's
nothing wrong with it. It's just how I speak.
That is exactly what's wrong with it, Tim. It is the way you speak.
Let's get back into round
1 and 4 on the Nook as well, trying to work his way through. Been quiet in this series. I think he was like 2 and 8 back on the first map as well. Has struggled to make a massive impact in the game. When you're playing on a leading role as well at the Nook, whose job it is to get into space and make things happen for the team as one of the pseudo entries. I guess you could look at a more of a lurker by design, but you're still looking to make things happen. Fultz really hasn't had that impact just yet, but SSG have still found their way up to a 2-2 scoreline. And Tim, we love speaking about this site. They've got that East Breach kind of opened up. It has just been patched up by DCH playing with those Kiva barriers, but there's enough here that they can get that opened up again, I'd imagine, and start thinking about their execute. The question is, because it seems to be, are they going to go for the construction side execute now where they've got the east side cut off already, or do they go towards garage? It does kind of align up towards saying it's going to be the construction side though. Great nades.
The nade is going to come in from underneath. Mr. Punch just manages to avoid the damage there. Hotton manages to get the Selma chargers off. I think it's just it's going to be taken out with an impact trick, but the first stage at least has been opened. Now, for sort of maybe newer viewers, newer players, I'll very quickly mention you might have seen the Thermite just placing the charge on the very right of the construction wall, and the reason for that is that the logistics wall had been reinforced as well, and by placing it on the very edge of the wall like that, it will actually open up adjoining walls, so it has given access for SSG through logistics as well, which is being used by the Sledge. I love this. Yeti is going to find on Aguirre, but Elevator holding on pretty well here, Des. 25 seconds left to go, and we're into that danger zone for SSG.
2 kills coming out for Sapper as well. This is the danger zone, and Yeti is trapped outside in the cold. The Kiva barrier is taken down. A nice little side swipe that he got onto Onigiri, but I think that's all he is going to be able to find in this round. As 10 seconds come through, Sapper closes it out with a 3K flurry, the last one with the shotgun, to give Elevate the lead once again. Up to 3-2 we go, going into their last defensive round.
A very important defensive round. If we look at the bigger picture here, 3-3 I'm not sure is good enough for Elevate, with SSG moving on to the defense. I fully expect, and would probably be a little bit disappointed in SSG's performance if they didn't get a 4-2 on the defense. I would expect them to be able to lock down 2 of these sites. And that's no comment on Elevate, it's just Space Station. You know, they've got a great working knowledge of this map, and I would expect them to be able to do that. So, Elevate, I feel like they really need to be locking down gym and bedroom.
Realistically, yes. You want to be finding yourself pulling ahead, although I know for a number of teams we did start to see Clubhouse, weirdly, become quite a attacker-leaning map. I think when we saw that Catch TC is considered a really difficult site to defend these days, it's very easy for the attackers because everything is, well, not externally facing, but you don't need a lot of control to really get an execute off on that site itself. When you look down towards downstairs, yes, very defendable. Bar and stage, it was still brand new, not very defendable either. Gym and bedroom was kind of considered the sort of halfway house site. So really, there was only one site that was considered defensively solid here. So for a time, I think it was M&M back in the day, used to actually start an attack on this map rather than trying to choose defense. So over time, a 3-3 scoreline also isn't too far amiss. I think SSG will be happy if they get to 3-3. Elevate may be a little bit disappointed, but they are playing on one of the offsites here. They aren't defending in the downstairs, so I wouldn't be too shocked if they do see this one falling away from them.
We're going to have the Claymores put out there, just prevent any jump outs, any run outs. We know that Elevate are one of those teams. We saw it from Onigiri right up to the breach. They don't mind getting a little bit unpredictable. So SSG is just going to make sure that that's difficult for them to do. Yeti in position on the Thatcher to potentially help get in this breach open. I don't think too much help is going to be needed. There is the mute there for denial, but with the way that the mute jam has changed, I won't say recently because it was a while ago now, even if there was a mute jammer on the wall, you don't need a Thatcher EMP either. If there is a mute jammer on that wall, you can just play the Thermite charge to the top left and it'll open up the entire panel.
Does indeed. I don't hate faults here being on the Oster as well. It feels kind of like horrible to say, right, you can't hit your shots, you're on shield duty. But here, actually thinking being on this is really good because, one, it gives that slow crawling ground control that SSG would love to be able to play off and execute on. Think about their attack on the top floor of Oregon, forcing the defenders more and more towards the west side before the execute came in. It's a very similar sort of story. Here, what he's done is set it up for this hold onto CC, like we've said before. This just stops anyone kind of like drive-bying him, like swinging and going for a spray, for example, and bringing him down. He'll see them long before they have a chance to even hit him, and he can react in kind, which is why I think you've just seen Mark and Mr. Punch kind of avoid trying to go for that swing. He can hold it down even against 2 players.
A lot quicker from SSG than round 2 when we saw them attack this site. It was in the last 30-40 seconds that they were getting the jacuzzi wall open, but that's been done already, so they can start applying pressure from both sides. Bosco is going to hold on to that angle. We saw him get beautiful kill from there previously. I don't think he's going to be gifted the opportunity again, but he's got Hotton with him as well. And they're just trying to push in. They can't get that bathroom wall open yet, and that's an important one. If they could get that Selma charge activated, there we go.
Well, the Mutual must have gone down literally a split second after.
It's still, even after the Thatcher EMP detonated there, the Selma charges have still been blocked.
What has happened there? I don't know what's happened. Like,
I don't know if the EMP was maybe just short or...
I mean, the Mutual is pretty huge. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, it's sort of difficult to say, but one way or another, they're not going to be opening the bathroom wall.
They are not. That could be what this whole round rides on as well, because they dropped the smokes in as well, thinking this will be their execute, but it's not going to happen. No way! Rampy wins out through the smoke as well. Now he's got himself in a key spot. Hot and cold into a second. SSG in a commanding spot in a 4 versus 2. You can make it a 3v1 as Yeti is indeed off holding elsewhere, and this point is brought down to a 2v2 on sites itself. It's not looking as good as you'd hope as Hot and Cold snaps his leg into a frost mat. It looks like they might have done enough. There's one still left to go here. Zappa's left alive, but it's Yeti on the late rotate to bring it over for SSG and close things up 3-3.
Very close round there, an exciting one that sort of swung back and forward. There was a path to success for Elevate there that you could see an opportunity for them to win the round, particularly when that frost mat snapped shut, but it just wasn't quite enough in the end. SSG doing well to collapse in that last 13 seconds and find their kills and get the round done. That gives them a reasonable advantage, 3-3 on the half. As I say, I think it really does suit SSG down to the ground, put them on the defence. I feel like they've got an advantage. They go down to Church and Arsenal to begin with, and Elevate now, it's backs to the wall. They've really got to do a good job. The first thing that Elevate can't allow to happen is for them to lose anybody on the roam clear here. If they start losing people on the roam clear, I think it's a big problem.
I just love how the 2 leftmost players then in the lineup of Elevate basically picked up their drinks, opened them, took a drink in exact perfect like synchronization, and then both put them down together at the same time. Just, that's what it takes to be a real team, Tim. A little bit of teamwork. We should practice this at some point. Either way, I think I'm with you. We've got to see some real special magic coming out of Elevate here on the attacking side. Early round, all down to the drone work. SSG, want to see them holding up nice and tight as well. So I'll keep a close eye on that drone count and just see how much information they're lacking. I think the beauty of this is you've seen SSG play this map and this site and this setup so many times over by now that there's a very good chance they've already got the understanding of who's going to be playing where and what's going on. Still, you'd rather have that information than not.
Hot and Cold just holding a really tight angle there onto the garage door, looking to keep his position inside of Catwalk. SSG going to be holding on to top floor for as long as possible, and as I said, Elevate really don't want to be losing anybody to this roam game. Rampy's got to keep a barricade to keep himself in and around Lounge as well, which is just going to help. It's all, you know, part of the puzzle. It keeps the pressure from Hot and Cold. He doesn't need to worry about red stairs because he's got the man down in Lounge. He's got Yeti over on Master Stairs, and they really are set up to support each other here. The problem is they could fall like dominoes. If one goes, it leads to pressure to the next and the next. So the first couple of gunfights, the entry kill could be particularly important.
Keep up positioned.
Hot and Cold just making sure there's no way he gets sprayed on his retreat down the main stairs at some point. SSG still working their way mainly around main stairs, to be fair, rather than having full-on roaming going on all across the entirety of the top floor. And it's a good idea as well, as we have got a couple of players. Onigiri again, it's just like, what, a second or two too late there, as they've already beelined their way down main stairs, back in towards site. With this Thatcher on side, they should be able to get a couple of hatches opened up, even though they've been electrified by the Kaid of Bosco.
1 minute 30 left on the clock, and Elevate starting to gain a little bit of confidence in what they have gained so far, starting to move their way in, but still tentative, still wanting to face check and make sure. They've got the Jackal on side as well. Obviously Sapper able to provide a little bit of confidence as they start dropping now. 1 minute 15, so they're sort of on the edge of that margin that I was looking for SSG to have enough time getting into sight. So they're still okay, yeah. They're getting the hatches open, and then they can start thinking about an execute. The problem is that if you're on that sort of threshold at 1 minute 15, 1 minute, dead, starting to open hatches, when all 5 defenders are still alive, that then becomes possibly a little bit of an issue.
I wonder if they're concerned here about impact tricks coming in, because there are 5 available for SSG. They can play this game all day long when it comes to denying this kitchen hatch. It's why DCH has got in first and is bucking open this floor, trying to deny any possibility of these tricks coming in. But again, I think SSG are going to really commit to it, and they're getting sprayed down as well. No, that's exactly what you're not looking for. A pixel angle coming in underneath the tray holder. Unbelievable.
Absolutely horrific from Hotton. That is, I tell you what, they're going to come out of the server a different person after taking that death. That's awful. Bosco just going to shoot off the Selma charges, but preoccupied and gets taken down by Mark. 14 seconds left to go. 3 versus 4. Elevate need to get in there and get some kills. There's unlikely to be an opportunity to get the diffuser down anytime immediately. Yeti manages to find Mark. Hotton finds Sapper, and that is looking like it could be it for the round. Onagiri cannot get in there, and SSG with a successful first defense, and things are looking a little bit dicey for Elevate.
I think from Bosco there... Yeti. Shut your big mouth. What I love there from Bosco is that I know that he died in trying to get, well, in getting rid of the 2 Salmons that were on the wall. He gave his position away. It was an easy swing. He was pinned into the corner. He was just destined to be absolutely screwed. But what he did do was block up that church wall from being open. There was no more hard breach left, so they had to funnel their way in then through the attackers. This is Elevate. They had to go in through Moto and in through a single door. That's a horrible bottleneck to have to force your way into the site from. So although he's given up his life, and many would say, what are you doing? You're giving yourself away. The best part about it is he is hard denied away the most prime plant location for the attackers and forced them into a really uncomfortable situation. So really well played by Bosco. Great read in the situation as well. Knew what he was getting himself in for, but it paid off absolute dividends, and arguably for me was one of the big reasons why SSG won that last round.
Gym and bedroom we go to. It's going to be up to the top floor. The SSG go. I'm interested to see where their tertiary site choice will be. I'm not looking beyond this round just yet. Obviously, they've got to get this one won. But will the choice be CCTV cache, or will it be bar and stage should they win this round? They are setting up pretty much standard. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. They've got the east wall barricaded off. They've got one barricaded, reinforced rather, inside of cache. So that would suggest there's going to be a little bit of a presence. But interestingly, no rotate at the top of red stairs. Hotton is currently there, but I don't think he's necessarily going to stay there too long. He does have impact nades in pocket, so he can create it himself, but it's usually something that you'd have pre-set up at this point. But we'll see how hard Elevate push onto that side of the map. To be fair, it may be that there's just no real requirement for Hotton to do that. The problem that he's going to have is that he's going to be cut off here as Mark's looking to get construction wall open. Oh, we've got a hot drop. We've got a hot drop into logistics. Des, it's not worked out. It's not been hot. Fultz has put them on ice. That's going to be a double kill, and this could be a bad omen for Elevate.
I think you need to hand Elevate that jacket, hat, scarf, gloves, everything you had earlier, Tim, because my God, he's slaughtered them. He makes it a 3 in the round as well. The man that I commented on being so quiet across these 2 maps. I think prior to this, he was like 4 and 15. It's been quiet, but a big 3K and a solo round being won by denying that drop is all you needing to do. Sapper left alone in a 1 versus 5, taking a few moments here because they know full well that they are backs against the wall. They'll be down 5 and 3. There is a massive recovery effort to bring back. Otherwise, Elevate, given the defeats they've had so far and the 2-0 in this series, will be really starting to kick themselves about what could have been.
Sapper's got plenty of time. SSG need to just make sure that they don't sort of fall into the trap of starting to chase and try to find the kill. Sapper may use some of that time to try and bait out a kill or 2 if they go and have a look at a window, for example, and he manages to pick them up. It's, 1v3 looks much better than a 1v5, for example. He's sending the drones in again, just trying to get as much information as he can. All he's going to see is that SSG are holding their positions. They sat there watching their angles. They're waiting. They're not going to get carried away here. They're not going to go in too deep.
What I'm enjoying looking at really is I was just pulling up some stats to look across the whole series. The entry record for a couple of the players on SSG has been amazing. 8-1 between Yeti and Hot and Cold. And although Fultz has had a bit of a difficult first map, he currently finds himself sat at 8-14 across the entire series. You can see where the impact is being felt in key rounds like this. So for Sapper has said he wants to run this clock down, have that conversation time. It will be 5-3. They've got 2 chances really, Tim, to save their bacon.
Yeah, exactly that. It's gone a little bit beyond baiting now. He's not trying to find anybody in particular. He knows that this one isn't likely to happen. That much is clear at this point. So SSG, they just need to wait this out, essentially. The thing is, you've got to remember, it works both ways as well, Des. You know, Sapper might give Elevate a bit of a chance to have a chat with each other and to see what's going on, but it also gives SSG a chance to have a chat and say exactly what's going right. Where do we go next? Let's be honest, they've got not a difficult round coming up, but the more difficult round. They've got the third choice site coming up, and they've just managed to have a good minute chat about it. Right, which third choice site are we feeling? What have Elevate shown us so far? You know, where do we think we're going to get success there? I think there was a couple of comments towards Fultz there, a bit of satisfaction with the way that he shut down that drop through logistics hatch.
I mean, he stopped everything in that, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he won the round at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he killed 2 on the instant drop and even managed to do away with the nade that came flying through. They had the Wamai as well, just everything stacking up there perfectly as they would have loved it to. It's a great idea. I won't take it away from them. It's a great idea coming out from Elevate, just not quite done with the right amount of prep to really make things come off well. And if you are not watching the game on the other stream but want to know how that's going, cover your ears now. We are currently still in that second map between G2 and W7M, with W7M up 6-3. By the time you hear my voice, because we're on a slight delay, chances are you are going to have a better idea as to whether that game is over or whether it's 6-4. But it sounds like that game could be careering towards the third map, Tim, for that spot at the top of this group.
It certainly looks a lot more likely than the one we've got in front of us, Des. SSG certainly looking to break our 3-map streak. Both of our games yesterday going to 3. I didn't end up checking specifically. I'm not sure if any of the other duos of casters had all 6 maps or not, or whether it was just us. But if it was just us, it'd pretty much be par for the course. Let's be honest. The
only thing we're missing so far is an overtime map 3.
Yeah, we always seem to attract those. We had a few overtimes. We had both.
The thing is, I don't actually mind saving those until next week when we start getting playoffs, live audience.
Warm up at the minute, you know, a couple of 3-mappers here and there is absolutely fine. And then when things get a bit more tasty next week, then yeah, let's throw in those map 3 overtimes as well. Right, we are in round 9. SSG are doing well so far. They're on the third choice site. It's going to be bar and stage. Interestingly, avoiding CCTV cache. I won't say at all costs, but certainly at this point in time. They're going to be looking to hold on to the top floor much the same as they did last time, so it's not too much of a surprise that they've gone to bar stage, because it allows them not to rinse and repeat exactly, but they're looking for the same key areas. They're looking to hold on to construction, they're looking to hold on to cache and to master bedroom and just keep that vertical presence for as long as possible.
Absolutely. Speed is going to be one thing for Elevate here as well. I think for both teams, we've had speed being a thing where we've come down to the last 10 seconds of a round for things to start moving. Hot and Cold dispatching away of the Roteros as they start rolling on through. And thinking about it, I can think of a certain clutch a good long time ago now, Tim, from Hot and Cold playing on this exact operator.
Absolutely. Right, we're going to have the opening kill coming in. DCH is going to manage to take down Yeti. Yeti's been going well again, not just in this map, but in the series overall. It's a pleasure to see him picking up those numbers. Certainly one of the players that could be up towards the top of the kill numbers come the end of the tournament. Fultz manages to get a kill onto Sapper, leaving us now 4 versus 4. Bosco just holding a tight angle. SSG going absolutely nowhere. They've dug the heels in, Des, and they are not going to give up construction easily. DCH is trying to push forward, but at the minute, the utility, there you go, the Wamai magnet sucks it in, the Kiba barricade survives. There is one more nade available, but DCH needs to just be sure that there's nothing else there that's going to snag it, because if that Kiba barricade stays in position, it's going to make it very difficult to move into construction at all.
Well, time will tell. See if they can actually get their way through here. Again, that time is starting to slowly tick away. 45 seconds left in the 4 versus 4. As I said back on Oregon, defenders generally favoured when we come down to these all things equal 4v4s, 3v3s, 2v2s, as the attackers are the ones lacking a bit of the utility or firepower they need to pull off a really well-formed execute. Here they're putting their focus on the stock side, though, to open up the bar area, and are looking to go for a plant on stage, if they can get there.
Ooh,
oh, the timing.
Mr. Punch just missing the punch there as Fultz gets in there and beats him to it. And that is going to be 4 versus 3. Rampy just holding that down. Mark's going to start trying to put this diffuser down on the ground. Is there anything that SSG can do to prevent that? It doesn't look like it. He is going to stick it, and that is good. But SSG are on the retake. DCH is trying to hold him out, but no, he gets shut down as well. And surely SSG are going to be able to successfully retake this. It's all up to Onigiri. It's 1 versus 4. He's trying to hold his angles as best he can, but he can't even really get too close to that diffuser. And I think they know exactly where he is. They do indeed. Hotton's going to hold him in position as the shots are raining in. He's 1 bullet away from death, and there it is. Fultz finds him from the stage, and that's going to be map and series point for SSG coming up, and they can go back to their primary site choice, Des.
We were concerned stepping into this map what would happen when SSG get on the defensive side. So far, just showing how competent they are at this map. The one again where they had a strategy defined after their exact namesake. Interestingly, haven't ran that strat, but you might see a bit of fun coming out here. Yeti going to lock in the Caveira for this last potential round. Round 10 coming up. 3 chances for Elevate to pull this into overtime to potentially send us into that 3rd map of Border. But I think given how the game has been going, Tim, no one's really expecting that.
No, I wouldn't expect so at this point. Yeti is going to bring out the Caveira. Now, another one of Fresh's bingo squares on the card is to see an interrogation, and that's probably going to be one of the more difficult ones. I'm not sure that we will get that one fulfilled, so that could be the make or break of the card. I think there's been about half of them ticked off so far, but there's a few tricky ones left, so we'll keep a very close eye on Yeti and see exactly what happens with him on the Caveira. At the time, just lurking around logistics up on that top floor. He needs to keep himself off the radar, really, so he can have that surprise attack.
I'm not just looking at how things shape up in this group as well, because again, we know that the game's still ongoing. G2 did pull it back to 6 and 4, so time will tell. We'll see exactly how that one stacks up. But obviously, this gives us a better idea of how this group starts to form. Again, every team in those groups has an off day where they get a bye. They haven't got to play on that day. SG had their day yesterday, so they will be slightly behind on potential points. But as it stands for them, a close game between G2 and W7M gives them a good chance to get 4 points on the board and start fighting on their way forwards. A clean win for W7M and will move them far clear up to 8 points. That's probably the outcome that you're looking to avoid, but that does require, obviously, G2 to continue the upset.
Mr. Punch just going to be opening up the soft wall momentarily. Again, a second sooner, he might well have just had an opportunity to close one down. Rampy is going to be taken out by Onigiri, but the trade is immediately there. Hotton managing to find that. Leaves us 4 versus 4 at this point. 2 minutes left to go, but SSG just having a little bit of fun out in the map. They're going to keep themselves active here. They're not going to be too keen to be diving back to site if they don't have to.
You'd hope not. But either way, I'm still waiting to see when we get that strike coming in from Yeti as well. If he can get an interrogation off, just why not? It's a great way to signify and end what has been a fantastic game so far. Again, it's that 4 versus 4, slight advantage coming in over towards the side of SSG. Onigiri, it's been one of his more quieter series. I know that he's considered the superstar of this team, but it has been a quiet day for him, all things considered as well.
Right, I mentioned Yeti at the beginning. He's currently sat behind the bar, I think, Des. They don't know that he's there.
Oh, this rat.
He's just waiting. He's playing the rat game. He's just hoping to get on the backside. The thing is, the longer this goes on, the more of a chance that it works out, because, of course, Elevate start focusing towards site now then. They come into the bar. He's got his chance. No, he misses his chance. Does he have the chance for the interrogation? No, he's shut down. The opportunity was there. Yeti, it was a good effort. Mark gets the kill. He's going to miss a punch up as well. The damage isn't quite done, but it wastes another 20 seconds, if nothing else.
It's fun at the very least, but in pro play, you are very rarely going to be able to get away with that kind of play. Interrogations are just not the go-to thing, because by the time you go in for the interrogation, the animation begins, you've got someone else looking to trade them out straight away. Now, they should finally be able to get this opened up. They did a great job of denying get away with the impacts at first, but having lost Yeti, 2 of those were immediately offline. So now we step forward into seeing what Elevate can do in these dying 30 seconds. It looks like a bit of a late rotation coming out here as well, which just says to me, Tim, it's panic stations. What can we do to get this over the finish line?
Yeah, exactly that. They've not got themselves into a position to execute realistically. They're just going to have to push down and start looking, for kills that they can find, but the smoke canisters aren't going to make that easy at all. That's going to be a beautiful kill from Hotton, and a second. Fultz finishes one off with a smoke canister as well, and and that is it. Job done for SSG. Space Station have liftoff, Des. It's their first map, it's their first win, and that is a great start for them.
Well, I think it's a deserved victory overall. Map 1, a little bit shaky, not a map they often play. Clubhouse, definitely the home of SSG, and 4 points to start off their 6th Invitational 2023 run. I think many were expecting this one might be a bit of a closer affair, given, you know, again, SSG are coming in here from the closed qualifiers, but at least to start things off, they've got themselves those 4 points they sorely need.
I love that you could see the thought process for Yeti there. When he got the down, you could clearly see he was thinking, I'm not finishing this kill. Is there a second coming? I'm going to have a little look. But it was just not possible. SSG certainly picking up pace as that game went on. As we said, there's a little bit of work to do there for them on the attacks, particularly towards the end of rounds. You know, maybe just making sure that they're giving themselves enough time, making sure that they're going in and getting the kills that they need to. But otherwise, I think SSG looking pretty good there. You know, again, experience telling, as I said, that it likely would. They were on top of that game, particularly towards the end of Clubhouse, managing it very well. And I like what I see from SSG. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I'm really enjoying watching the NA teams so far.
They are looking like great fun. For Elevate, that's a double loss to